play basketball.
3,000! History with an exclamation!
Anthony for three. Bang! That one goes down, and the game is tied. Rockies are champions of baseball.
Okay, let's talk about that one, shall we? That was annoying. That was rough. So it's going to be a very brief episode. Quick turnaround with the second of the back-to-back tonight, which I'm sure the Knicks will also lose, given how sleepy they look. Who's to say they're going to have the energy if they didn't on the first night? Tough. 110-97 loss. Just unacceptable offense. Defense, it's fine, but still some issues. Made a fake comeback late. Couldn't really care less for that. By the time that happened, I was half paying attention. This game boils down to a few things. I think one of the first few things you could say is the Knicks could not make a shot. And they had plenty of open looks, but they just could not make shots. Mikal Bridges continues to be the underwhelming Knick that he is. 0-point nightmare. 0 points. And it wasn't like he was fantastic on the other end to make up for the 0 points, which should never happen regardless. But that happened. Jalen Brunson couldn't hit the broadside of a barn until his fake fourth quarter comeback. The Knicks were terrible in terms of pace, just awfully slow. The full court game was not there in transition, but also like what we always talk about, half court pace too, right? Like their lack of ability, just like not getting into the half court quick enough, where by the time they would get the ball up into the half court off of a make or off of a miss, you're looking at the shot clock and it's 17 seconds or less. When the Knicks are going and when they're playing good offense, they're in clock 20 plus a lot of the time. And so the difference between that and what they were getting into the clock at last night is that when the first action breaks down, you're still able to get to your counters. You're still able to get to your secondaries. You can get to multiple actions and have multiple bites at the apple. That was not an option last night because of how slow they were playing. They played in mud. So that was a problem. I think the numbers game was just not there, like the possession battle. The Knicks turned it over 18 times. The Lakers turned it over 13 times. The Knicks had 10 offensive rebounds to the Lakers' 12. The Knicks got up just 34 three-point attempts. The Lakers got up 44. The Knicks took 21 free throw attempts. The Lakers took 30. So it's just simple math. The Knicks, really though, when we're talking about half-court offense, because they were unable to play quick and play fast and just not playing, I should say, because they weren't playing fast, they had to settle into a ton of half-court possessions. And against the defense that decided to show up for a night in the Lakers, they couldn't get past that defense. Their coverages threw the Knicks off. They switched everything, every kind of ball screen, whether it was traditional pick and roll, double drag, staggers, flare screens, DHO, they were switching everything. And so it made life very difficult. And when your best scorer, somebody who's usually excellent at exploiting switches, when he wasn't making shots, and he wasn't for a majority of this game, Brunson, you're going to have an issue with switching. And I also thought Brunson's decision-making was dog shit. He had 7 turnovers. They were flooding his isolations and blitzing some of them and Brunson, again, just doesn't have the size when the floor is packed, like the Lakers were shrinking it, to make the skip to the second side consistently. Can't see over that many bodies. But, when defenses switch everything like that, and when they do it effectively, like with the entire Laker rotation buying into defense last night, you will not create any advantages out of that. Right? Because the core purpose of a switch all is to take away the advantage created by the screen. You're simply switching the screen. So the Knicks, the way they run offense is like the way most modern teams run offense, unless you're named the Miami Heat. The Knicks run actions specifically to force defensive confusion or separation, to get separation. So when a defense switches everything, it removes that separation by simply exchanging the matchup. You're not fighting over, right? If the defense chases over, well, now your shooter's going to get daylight. But if they just simply switch it and tag the guy they're next to, that's going to keep them attached to the shooter. But if you're not switching and the defense maybe miscommunicates on the ball screen, that can create a downhill lane. But switching it simplifies the read and it avoids that. It's going to slow down your offense because it's a quick counter to the read. Actions that are designed to force rotation become less effective because the defense is not scrambling. Switching is just more straightforward. It's a simple coverage, or it's much more simpler and easier to execute than worrying about helping and recovering like you have to do when you hedge, when you drop, etc. And so the Lakers did it, and they did it with exception last night. I don't even know if that makes sense. They did it exceptionally well last night or yesterday. So that was what happened to the Knicks offense. That was a gigantic reason as to how they had 97 points. Unfavorable shots they couldn't get off, drives into traffic, turnovers, missed shots. Big part of that was due to the Lakers switching. And of course, the Knicks starting rotation continues to be thrown out there every single day, and I will continue to say this. Mike Brown's not stupid by doing this. He's doing this because it's the regular season, and he's trying to figure this out. He's trying to have an answer for it instead of giving up on it now, and then you get to the playoffs and you have one less lineup you can lean into. Do I agree with that? I don't. But that's what he's doing, and it's a starting rotation that's not been good for 2 seasons in a row. Right? And as a matter of fact, I'm going to pull up a tweet that I just saw come across my timeline as I'm scrolling Twitter here. One of the guys at Hot Hand Theory, if you follow him, he's good follow, at Xavier J Designs, reads off that the Knicks starting lineup hasn't had a positive net rating in a single game the past 7, despite beating Milwaukee by 29, San Antonio by 25, Toronto by 16, and Denver by 39. Despite beating all those teams by wide margins, their starting lineup hasn't had a positive net. And then he goes on to say they have a total of a minus 18.1 net in 193 possessions during that span. So, yeah, I mean, we've all been saying it, right? They can't consistently find success. You could do it in spurts. You could do it against certain teams who aren't maybe equipped for that. But it's not a championship rotation, those 5 guys collectively. And when defenses do switch all on you like that, it does make it much easier to play 5 floor spacers out there at the same time, because you can't really play off Cat like the way you do. When you cross match and you help off of Josh Hart, that doesn't become as easy when you're in a 5-out. So the Knicks might get better matchups off those switches. So I just didn't think it was a good offensive game at all. It was very discouraging. And then we're not going to be long, folks. So some of the defensive stuff. I mean, Luka Doncic finishes with a 30-point game. Let me see what he finished with. 35. Yeah, Luka Doncic finishes with 35 points. Austin Reeves finishes with 25 points. I thought the Knicks had trouble containing those pick and rolls, those Luka pick and rolls. Third quarter, he went off, and the Knicks had problems with it. Mitchell Robinson getting picked apart in high coverage. And the problem is when you're in high coverage on a pick and roll, yes, you might be able to take away the three, but you are giving up the drive. And if you don't get the stop at the point of attack, now the guard's coming off, getting downhill with an open lane, and you have to send a weak side rotation. And I didn't think the Knicks' low man help was very effective. And there were a couple times they got beat at the basket because of that. Mitchell Robinson used to be a very switchable defender. We've talked this year how that's just not there. Now, some of it was stupid defense up top. He was just gambling too much. But I do think he's lost athleticism up top. Over the years, just with all the injuries, that's just a fact we have to acknowledge at this rate, at this point. So those two guys were tough to stop. The Lakers finally get a decent effort from DeAndre Ayton, who's been just a nightmare for them. Marcus Smart was very good on that on the defensive end. But it was Luka, and it was Reeves, and at times Rui Hachimura gave the Knicks some problems. Luke Kennard from three. So by the time the Knicks were able to make their fake fourth quarter comeback, I should say, it was too late. And they botched some really good opportunities as well in the later half of that fourth quarter when they really could have bit into the lead. Because they got it to like within 10. But they just made some stupid turnovers, stupid decisions on the offensive end. So that's it really for that. Trying to see if I have anything else to add. If you're going to hand out a game ball, I think offensively, Karl Anthony Towns was the best Knick. Oh, I'm sorry. Among the starting lineup, Karl Anthony Towns was the best Knick. Cat finishes with 25 points, 16 rebounds, a couple of assists, a steal and a block. Shoots 8 for 17, 1 for 5 from 3, 8 for 8 at the line. Gotta say, man, it's starting to get frustrating that Cat just isn't comfortable taking threes. Because there were still a number of times in this game where he just decided not to pop. And he would roll into traffic. And with the lack of floor spacing last night or yesterday, there was no point of rolling a lot of the time. Need to pop. When you are one of the best big man shooter to play this game, you need to be able to use that advantage. Why would anybody in the right mind want Cat to take less threes and attack the basket more? That just makes no sense. It's a very regressive mindset. It's like we're in the 90s. Cat's he's in the NBA because he's an elite shooter. So use that. That's why they acquired him. Take that. Take it. Use it to your advantage. And he's just, his entire career, he's just never been comfortable shooting threes. It doesn't make sense. Threes are good. Shoot threes. They are better than two. So that does frustrate me. But I'll give it to Cat. Good for him. And then you go to the second unit. I guess Jordan Clarkson, right? I mean, I was not impressed with Mitchell Robinson's game. I thought Landry Shamet wasn't great. Mo Diawara, not too impressed Jose Alvarado was, as much of a ghost as you could be. He was awful. And to be honest, man, he's done some good things here, but I'm not impressed with him. So that leaves you with one guy. And that's Jordan Clarkson, who, again, gave you some life in the second half. Welcome back to the rotation for a night, at least. Jordan Clarkson, who plays the entire second, or not the entire second half, but all of his minutes come in the second half, I believe, where he goes for 9 points on 3 for 4 shooting. Good for him. It was that third quarter where the Knicks were getting beat. He scores a few points for them there. But then it was really the fourth quarter where Clarkson turned it around, and Brunson. It was him, Brunson, and Cat really leading the Knicks on that run there in the fake comeback. Nobody else was chiming in. So, give it to Jordan Clarkson. Some life when the Knicks needed it late. And with that said, we're going to head to a quick break. And when we get back, we'll wrap it up by talking about what's coming up next on the schedule. Stay with us.
Quick break here, guys. Stay connected with BD4 on social media. Follow us on Instagram and X at BD4Pod, and find us on Facebook by searching BD4. Don't miss out. Join the conversation. Want more BD4? Subscribe to our YouTube channel and never miss an episode. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and share with your fellow fans. Don't forget to ring that bell so you're always the first to know when a new video drops. Love BD4 but don't have the time to sit down and watch? Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify so you never miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the show, leave us a 5-star rating and a quick review. It helps us grow and keeps the conversation going.
Okay. Welcome back to the show. Episode 1020 of the podcast. Talking about a tough Knicks loss. One that was just very discouraging to watch. A 110-97 beatdown in Los Angeles on the first of a back-to-back. Talked about some of the offensive decision-making. Talked about some of the struggles with spacing and some of the switching that the Lakers were throwing at the Knicks. Trying to see if we have anything else to add before we talk about what's coming up next on the schedule. But, again, I don't think we need to go deeper into this one. So, up next for the Knicks, they've got the second of this back-to-back, staying at Lakers at Staples Center, whatever the fuck they call it now, to face the Clippers. That is a not good team. It is obviously a different look now with the trade, but it's a team the Knicks should beat, but I don't have a ton of confidence. Just the way they looked last night, their energy just wasn't there. Maybe they come out the gate much stronger and trying to make more of a statement, but I don't know. Let's beat that team, please. Because that was I just had it rubs me the wrong way when the Knicks lose to an LA team. But again, you look up and the season's still strong, and there's still an outside shot the Knicks can take the second seed. I wouldn't even call it an outside shot. There's still a shot, but we'll see. I know Tatum's back and Boston doesn't lose, and as disappointing as I feel like it's been for the Knicks this year, they still have a shot to make it in the 2 seed and get a favorable matchup. But they are still third in offense. They bumped up to 6th in defense. They went from 7 to 6. At least if you look on NBA.com, 111.8 defensive rating. So their net rating now 5th at 6.3. So that is where we are. Clippers up next. We'll see what happens. And I do appreciate everybody for tuning in. No trivia in this episode, but we'll see you after this Clippers game. Later. Hey guys, thank you for listening to BD4. Be sure to follow us on social media subscribe to us on YouTube, and give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. We'll see you next time.